6 air coupe at night for night flights, and we'd fly with the moon in this little teeny 1946 air coupe. And then from my bedroom I could see the moon. So I think you get the moon into your visual body. And the first batik, which is dyeing on cloth with using waxes and dyes to make an image on cloth. First batik that I did was the Pacific Full Moon, which is in 1999, which is this piece right here. And what I did was I called up Jay Apt, who, let's see, where's the big book? The big book right over there it is. He was the photographer in history that had taken the most pictures ever in outer space in history. And I asked him if I could use the photograph that was on the back of his book. And he said, yes, you're Americans. You own that. You own that image. That's what we own because that's the way that our system works. Hope it never changes. But I got to talk to him a lot about what it was like, since I'm an aerial photographer and he's an outer space astronaut photographer. He took the picture with Ektachrome film with a Hasselblad. I think that's pretty interesting. In 1995, I was the artist for NASA. And so I got to look at every single picture that had been taken up to that time. I got to look at all the lunar disk that had been made at the Smithsonian, and I went to NASA, the office, and they had racks and racks and racks of slides, because it was still film. It was prior to digital imagery. So I guess I have a lot of moons, maybe 26 moons in the title, and then I don't even know how many moons in the works that I make. Somebody have a question out there? Hear me?
We can, and I think Andy is working on connecting everybody up with microphones.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they should be now.
Hello, Earthlings.
Hey, if you want to talk, just press the talk button down there in the lower left. Just press and hold it, and then that way you can talk to Mary Edna.
Don't be shy. Well, I'll just talk until somebody talks. Here's a neat moon. My latest moon. That's my backyard. That's a Carolina moon on silk. That every single group of people on our planet worship the moon in some way. I used to always say all my wishes to the moon. There's a moon called Rising Tides. I live on a tidal creek, so I like to swim in my creek against the pull of the tide and then float back with the tide. So I'm really connected to the moon. I guess everybody is. It rushes through our bodies since we're so much water. Here's a crescent moon. The poet laureate of South Carolina, her name is Marjorie Wentworth, and she had written a poem that said, "A crescent moon in a nest of stars." This is actually a barrier island called Cross Island, which is in the Arctic floating. My only crescent moon. This great big piece back here. Oops, that way, that one, there. There's the earth, the marble. Oops, there. It's 36 inches wide and it's 143 inches tall. The image came from the Apollo 11 trip. And it's the moon at the bottom looking at the Earth. Boy, we've had a lot of change in perspective. Okay, I'll ask myself a question. Where were you whenever man first set foot on the moon? I was a junior in high school, and it was between my junior and senior year, and it was black and white TV, and I was standing with my brother and a bunch of his rowdy friends, and we just all whistled and hooped a lot. And then I made a batik at the Sea of Serenity, which is owned by Emory University because they have a strong astronomy program. And I met geologists, planetary geologists, and asked them, how far can you push the color? And they said I could push it all the way to a blue-green and to kind of a darkish lavender purple. So the Sea of Serenity looks a little bit to me like it would be Arizona at night with a black sky. Very beautiful.
Mary Edna, one of the questions that was submitted for you as well was, might you use some of the new images that some of our recent missions are sending back? Some of LRO's images, for example, of the trail of footprints between the module and the seismic and experiment stations.
Well, the way I work is if scientists send me pictures, like if your group sends me pictures and it strikes my fancy, then I'll probably make a batik of it for my outer space show. It's just got to be visually pretty stunning for me. So I would work with whatever strikes my fancy. It has to kind of fit into where I'm going right now with my outer space work. But I think I like landscape more than a footprint. And that's why the Sea of Serenity is so interesting, because it looks like the Earth so much. Like on Mars looks a lot like the Earth in some places. Only their canyons are a lot bigger.
So if some of our participants picked images that they particularly love about the moon and sent them to you, some of those may catch your fancy.
That's right. You can just email them to info@Mary Edna. Say, you might like this. Today, because of the information that I sent out to all the people that contact me, I got so many visual pieces sent back saying, Mary Edna, you might like this. So I just stick them in my future exhibition file. And then whenever I get my exhibit, I write the things I want to do into my exhibit in the scale that I think that I would like to make it. But since I don't have close-ups on the moon except for the Sea of Serenity, so I'd really be interested in that, yes. All my moons are far away and usually full. Sometimes they're down, at the base of the landscape.
There's a question from one of our participants. Kellyanne wants to know if you could tell us more about the process of making a batik.
Oh, I can. I've got some tools right here. Batik is an ancient method of dyeing. You start out with white cloth. Can you hand me those two little white cloth things over there that have drawings on them? You start out with beeswax, actually, and it smells just like the bees and the flowers that they go to. So the studio smells great. You heat up beeswax and paraffin to about 250 degrees, and then you use something called a chaunting tool. Let me reach over here, which is this. It's a copper bowl with a spout. You dip it into the hot wax and you draw like this on the cloth. And the cloth is suspended on sawhorses, so it's floating. I usually do giant batiks because I do the biggest batiks in the world in history. But this is a little bitty one. I don't know if you can see the drawing. Can you see the drawing? Yeah, bring it up close. That happens to be a pteropod, which is the smallest little creature living in the Arctic that's affected by climate change that I'm doing for a book with Duke University right now. But what I do is I draw on the silk and pencil, and then I wax out the white because it's a resist dye method. The wax resists the first layer of dyes, then I wax and resist another layer, wax, dye, wax, dye, wax, dye, until I have the image. Then I iron it between newspapers, and that heat sets the dyes. Batik is an ancient medium. It began well before the Middle Ages in China, Japan, India, Africa, Greece. So I'm using a very ancient technique. My brushes are very special. They won't break in hot wax. And I'm a master, and I teach this all over the world. I'm going to Australia to teach next.
And one of our participants has asked if you could move a little bit closer to your mic. Is that possible?
Move closer to my mic. I can do that. I bet that's better. Is that better? Can you hear better now? I'm a lot closer. Yeah.
We have a couple more questions here, and we'll kind of keep an eye on the chat box to see if anybody has concerns about not being able to hear you. But
Okay.
one question we have is, when are you coming to Houston with your art?
Well, I have to have a place to show it. I need a gallery, and not like I show mainly in museums, art museums. I'll show it mainly in art museums, but I show in natural history museums, university museums. I just have to get an invitation. I'm booked out right now to 2013 with shows. But I would really like to come to Houston. I've been to Houston before. I like your city. I like your museum a lot.
It's especially nice in the spring and the fall.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good time for me to have a show. It's kind of nice. The silks roll up. Why don't you bring me one of my big silks that's rolled up? Yeah, if you can find, yeah, a little outer space would be good. I'll show you some more pieces while you're asking questions. I'll just be showing you things. How's that? That's sort of a strange, imagined kind of landscape. These are monotypes, by the way. Oh, here we have the Pleiades. Stars, Starry, Starry Night. This is my mother's favorite group of stars. Van Gogh-y, isn't it?
Okay, another question we have is why batik rather than other forms such as painting or sculpting?
Well, I guess it's because I was a home ec major when I was in college. Those don't even exist anymore. But it was clothing and textiles and interior design. And I love silk. I love fabric. And I think that the fact that I'm photographing from the air and I'm looking at such a huge area, I can roll these silks up and put them in my trunk and take a $125,000 show with me on the road in my trunk of my vehicle. And I like the translucency of the silk. I feel like silk has an atmospheric type of feeling to it. And I'm an environmental activist, an artist as well. So the silk, it's made out of protein. I just love dyes and wax. I guess it's kind of like it's like an addiction that's healthy. So the first time that I put the wax and the dyes and came up with an image, I was just kind of hooked on this medium. And I will do some extremely large oil paintings before I die. But I like this medium because it's so meditative and quiet and Eastern.
And Larissa is asking, what kind of dyes do you use?
Well, I use Procyon dyes. Procyon dyes were invented in 1952, the year I was born. So I'm the first generation to have these dyes. They are the most color fast, and every single color is a different chemical equation, which is kind of interesting. You use urea and sodium alginate, soda ash, and baking soda to heat set the dyes.
Are there any?
So I'm the first generation to have not only these dyes, but also aerial photography, the first generation to have digital photography, the first generation to really have clear photographs of the moon or any other planetary body, fast film. It's pretty interesting to see how many changes can happen in one short life. And I am only half-baked. I'm 57. I'm going to live to at least 104.
All right, we'll mark that then. Another question about
Okay.
dyes. Have you ever experimented with vegetable or other natural types of dyes?
I have. As a matter of fact, I taught workshops in vegetable dyes and natural dyes, and I used onion skins and marigolds. And I have what my children say is my silliest invention ever, which is a scarf that's got all the colors that I ever made with natural dyes that can become a giant bow tie like this, or a funny hat, or it can become a skirt. But it's highly ridiculous. But those dyes are not as permanent as what I'm doing. And if I'm going to take a month to make a piece of art, I would rather have it be more permanently in the cloth. I'd like something that's going to be here 100 years from now. But I do love the work that other artists are doing with it. They're also a little bit more caustic to the system. The chemicals that you use to set them and work with them, I think, are a little bit rougher on an asthmatic.
Are there any other questions that our audience has? I've got others that were submitted earlier, but we'd certainly like to entertain those that are here.
I have one.
Oh, clear voice.
Just curious if you had any plans to maybe move to the outer solar system and do like maybe moons
And
of
you know
Jupiter.
what? I have already done that. If you go on my website, you'll see stretch spiral, eye of God. I've done every single planet and heavenly bodies, the first planet that was noted outside of our solar system. So I have a whole show of outer space prepared. And I'm working with Ted Maxwell at the Smithsonian at the Air and Space Museum, and with Greg Bryant, who's the archivist there. And they send me pictures, and I just keep making these batiks of outer space. I just need a place to show them. I need a good museum to let me in the door, maybe in Houston. But I did do Io's shadow in particular.
And Philly asks, have you ever thought about doing batiks of micro-sized subjects as opposed to big things, I don't know, say like Jupiter? And if so, what are some of those micro-sized objects?
Well, my very first batiks were actually microscopic. They were cross sections and longitudinal sections of Scotch pines. I just thought that looking through the microscope made some incredible designs that were very beautiful. So that was my first body of work, was microscopic. But now I like looking out. I also like looking deep into the water, into the trenches where a lot of life, strange life, is being found. I work with some scientists on that also.
Okay, and Tina has a question. Tina, do you want to go ahead? Tina, there's a talk button at the bottom. Can you hear us? If you click and hold the talk button, we should be able to hear you as long as your speakers are enabled.
I don't hear Tina yet, but while I'm waiting, I'll show you a pretty batik. This one is.
Probably hold it up.
Yeah. Yes. This is Mercury's rays. It's the surface design on the planet as seen because I think it's meteorites hitting and splashing up some space dust on the planet, some of the dirt on that planet. But does Tina have a question?
Tina does, and I can see that we're picking up some sound, but we're not completely hearing her.
Maybe she can type in something. Oh, you know what? Maybe we can show you something really interesting while you're waiting.
Oh, this one's huge.
Oh, it's way too big. Maybe if I might be able to show them somehow. You have to come through there without bumping that. It's a little bit awkward in here because we've got a lighting situation. This is Mars. This is one of my favorite silks. You hold it that way. See how big this is? This is Valles Marineris. Gives you an idea of the scale of my work. This keeps going, doesn't it?
You can probably.
So we're in the wrong area. We're not on the moon. We're just doing Mars right now. But it goes from the north to the South Pole. I'll hand that back to see my noble assistant.
Won't restrict you to the moon.
What?
And Tina, we're still not hearing you, so if we could invite you to use the chat box, I'll be happy to go ahead and ask that question. And Sarah Noble has asked, how long did it take you to make the Valles Marineris batik?
That took me a month, a whole month. And the interesting thing about that piece is I was at the Air and Space Museum, and I can't remember the scientist's name right now, but I said, well, tell me, what are the colors of Mars, of Valles Marineris? And he said, oh, I'll show you. And he opened a drawer, and there were vials of sand from all over the world that are the color of Mars sand and rocks. And so he made me little bags so I know what color to dye the piece. But that's one of my favorite pieces of artwork. I like the outer space work. I like working with black and almost black and eggplant black and green black and blue black and purple black. It's entertaining for an artist.
The moon is just right.
And also the designs are very different on Earth than they are on space. So it's always a bit of a stretch for me as an artist.
And Larissa's commenting, that's a great story.
Oh, good. Another thing that he said, did you realize that our Grand Canyon would fit in one little tiny part of the Valles Marineris? Did I say it right? I might have said it wrong. It's astounding when you think of scale and the difference in scale.
Any other questions from our participants? Okay, a question that was submitted earlier, and you shared a little bit with us that your first batik of the moon was the Sea of Serenity, right?
No, I think
Question
my first batik of the moon was actually the Pacific full moon, the one that's right there. The Sea of Serenity came after that, I think.
Well, and the question is, going from that first piece of the moon that you created, how has your use of the moon evolved and your approach toward the moon evolved in your work?
I think that now I would be more interested in the surface design of the moon itself, specific craters, things that are geologically, that people can relate to on Earth, that are geologically similar. Something that teaches. I'm an educator with my art. I think fascinating scales or sizes or things that you can say, oh, that crater's the size of a car, or more like a Mack truck, or more like a little sled or something. I like putting things together that you can understand easily. The moon is a beautiful surface. My husband thinks it looks like a bunny rabbit. I always saw a person's face. Oh, goody. We found something to share with you. Found my self-portrait.
Well, we've got a few additional questions.
Okay.
From Tina, would like to know if you could talk more about your Moonlight on the Wetlands image.
Oh, okay. That would probably be, well, the one that you just then saw, that's my self-portrait, because that's a moon over the wetlands where I live. A lot of my work is in protecting the barrier islands, and a moon lit area is called a moon glade. So a lot of my pieces are moon glades, and this is a moon glade right here. And that is just the light on the water with the moon. And the fact that I live on a tidal creek, I have 14 feet of tide, 7 feet of tide change about every 8 hours, I think it is. But the water will go all the way to dead low and then come back up. And one of the most beautiful views that I have in my visual memory is Moonlight on Water. Oh, there we go. That's another one. It's a good thing Celie's here tonight.
Yes, this is Light on Water.
This is Light on Water, and it's Moonlight on Water. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, they're getting closer there.
It's kind of see.
I don't know if I answered that question sufficiently.
I asked Tina just that question, so if she comes back further, we'll be sure to ask. We also have here, do you always try to make the colors realistic, or do you take artistic license?
Oh, I take a lot of artistic license because I say enough to make people believe it, kind of, but I mean, just look at this. Those colors are not going to be in the reflection on the water. That's got a lot of artistic license in it. But people still see it as a landscape.
And Celia says, you talked about underwater batiks a bit ago and the Valles Marineris, and both make me think about the Marianas Trench in the Pacific Ocean. Have you thought about doing any batiks of this?
Yes, I do have what I call, I can't remember the name of it. It's the trench that's up at the top of California. And I have actually, in one of my shows, if I ever get the show, I really want to go diving. That's what I really want to do. I want to go down there and look at the sulfur come out. But I think they look like cities underwater, don't you? They look like cities underwater. And I've seen films, and they have these little tiny strange shrimp, and I'd like to be able to put the critters in with those cities of mounding, is it sulfur dioxide? I don't even know what it is, but they're beautiful. Yes, I like trenches.
And let's see, Erica asked, is it difficult to take photographs from an airplane? Do you have to make several passes to get a good shot?
Well, I'm pretty lucky because I come from a flying family. Now I can hire an instructor, take off, go to the site, set myself up, give the wheel back to the instructor, and take my picture. And then I can see something else I'm interested in and fly to it and get to the right altitude. And I can almost look at a map, and because I've been doing it for so long. When I'm with my brother, he is usually the photographer, the pilot that I fly with the most, and he and I are just a really well-oiled team. And we use hand signals like, I want to go sideways and down lower, got it, stay there. You know, we don't even have to talk. We're really good at flying together and finding what we want. I'll take about 500 photographs to get one image that I will batik. But it's a lot of fun. Flying and photographing is a lot of fun.
And Tina's asking, do you fly and photograph at night?
I'm not as excited about the nighttime photography because it's a little repetitious in cities. When you're over a metropolis, you've got all those lights, and then it's sort of gridded out because of roads, and it's just little bumps of light. So I'm not into that too much. I have made 2 or 3 twilight pieces where it's when night and day are starting to converge on each other. But after a while, you do lose your light, and I don't like man-made light. I like moonlight. Sunlight.
Are there other questions? These have been terrific questions.
Yeah, they have been. This is really interesting. I wish I could see you all. Oh, earthlings, I love you. That's what my daughter would say. The one that's from another planet. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good moonlight. Here's a good example of a moonlight one. Celie's so smart. Let's see if you can see this. See the moon in it? Do I have it low enough for you? Yeah, I do. Those colors aren't real at all, are they?
That's more.
Yeah, that's Morris Island. It's real near here. I guess I've made maybe 1,000 pieces of art altogether. So I can't keep it all in my head. I can keep the batiks in my head, but not all the photographs. I'm trying to archive those now. I've flown and taken pictures from balloons, jets, helicopters, small planes. I wish there was some way to hook some type of propeller to my back and fly. I would be a bird if possible.
I'm detecting that you have
Maybe that'll happen.
generated quite a bit of interest. You were being asked now, do you have any plans to photograph in the southern Washington state area in the foreseeable future?
In the southern Washington state area. Yes, as a matter of fact. Let's see, what was the job that I had in, oh yeah, I think I got a job in Santa Cruz, and if I get to Santa Cruz, then I'll go down to Washington state, because that's where Celie, my assistant, is moving to, and I think that I will come and talk and have a show in her area, because I love her. And here's some more moons. Can you see that? These are prints of moons. I don't know if you can see these. Here's one. So, mainly my work is with universities. A university will hire me to come in and talk and have a show. And I talk a lot about collaborating and blending science and art and using art as a vehicle to educate.
And Tina
So maybe I can get there.
Tina asks, how much does where you live influence your art?
Well, this place that I live is spectacular. I've flown the whole east coast of America, most of the west coast, and a lot overseas and photographed. But where I live, we have one of the largest protected areas of salt marsh that's undeveloped in our country. So for me, the aerial perspective with change in tide, altitude, or season gives me an incredible array of beautiful, beautiful landscape. I could never tire of my aerial landscape right here. And it's just, this is almost a jungle. South Carolina, Charleston is a tiny little city that is a microcosm of elegance. To me, we have people from all over the world here, and it's exceedingly beautiful. It's humid and semi-tropical, and I like the heat of it all. I don't know if I answered that question either. I just started rambling.
Do we have any other questions from our participants? One question that was sent in earlier was, your pieces have been in exhibits worldwide. Do different cultures have different responses to your use of the solar system or moon or space?
Yes, they do, very much. When I was in Indonesia, all the people there considered the outer space and things that are out of our earthly domain to be much more important in a way. And I think that the one thing that unites everybody is outer space. We all have outer space. We all have the gift of that is beyond us, that we know so little about, but we have so many pictures now that we can't even grok them. We can't even look at them all anymore. There's so many images. But I'd say the people in Indonesia like the outer space images the most from my worldly travels. Also in Australia, because of the Aboriginal history, there's a lot of love for the outer space imagery there also.
Erica made the comment earlier, love your work, Mary. Thanks for showing.
Oh, thank you, Erica. This is my first webinar, and I'm really excited to be part of it. NASA has been a good friend to me for a long time. I like Houston, too. Oh, yay! Yay! Well, you'll have to send me your pictures of the moon and outer space and things that move you, and I'll see if they can move me. My next two pieces that I want to do that are outer space, the one in particular is our solar system, and it's just a conglomeration of everything that we see now, and I can't wait to batik that. I have the photograph ready for me to batik, but I have to finish my global warming book first. Uh-huh. Yes. I think I'm going to fight in Washington State a little bit about oysters and using chemicals to kill plants that are getting into our food chain. I think I'll probably work a little bit with the dolphins that are being killed ruthlessly in the cove that the Cousteau Project's going with. I'm sure I'll be involved forever, the rest of my life, with Barrier Island, with development of jetties and coastal cities that are building too close on barrier islands that are meant to move. And I guess I probably will stay closer to home with my issues for my grassroots activism. But you never know. I have to say right now that I feel that space exploration is as important as anything that we've ever had in the U.S. And the scientific information that we've reaped from that is monumental. So I would hate to see space exploration curtailed. It's one of the most exciting adventures happening in the world, out of this world. Guess not. You know, we're meeting with a guy tomorrow to make my website less archaic. But we need a calendar of my exhibitions, upcoming exhibitions on my website. We'll do that tomorrow, okay? We'll find a way to do that tomorrow, all right? Because we do have that going. We know where I'm going in the next few years, kinda. I might say.
And we can post.
But my next exhibition is in Australia.
We will post a link up on our website to that exhibit calendar when you're up and running, so people can find out at My Moon where your next batik exhibit will be.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you. And I'll send you some of these Mooney images too that you can share with people. Do you know that I batiqued for NASA last year at the Folklife Festival? Bet you didn't know that. It was in Washington, D.C., and it was the nation of Bhutan, whose gross national product is gross national happiness. They love batik, by the way, and they love outer space. And NASA and Texas. So we were quite a motley crew of different personalities all together. I met a lot of really great NASA people. And I walked on the moon at the Folklife Festival. You know that map of the moon that you walk on? Do you know about that? Have you ever walked on the moon? It's fun. It's a NASA display. Oh, yay, yay, that's so nice. I learned, there were so many people coming by, and I was making a batik of Bhutan while I was there, of the Himalayas. And at first I tried to talk to every human being that walked by, but there were just too many people. And the next day I went to the Bhutanese monks and the artist, and I'd stand there a really long time, and then they'd make eye contact and talk to me, and I thought, this is the way you handle a crowd if you're a monk. I'm going to try this today, and it went a lot better, and I wasn't overly peopled. But it was really fun. It was very hot. But tell her thank you. I'm glad she liked my little speech. Oh, I know him. He's wonderful. All right. Thank you. The moon has been very, very good to me.
No, other than to say thank you so much to all of our participants. Great questions, and thank you very much, Mary Edna, for experimenting with us in this webcast. We appreciate your sharing your art, and as Larissa said, combining science, space, geology, and art.
Well, that's my job. Thank you for letting me have this experience. It's didn't even dream that this would be possible, like years ago. It's Skypey.
I think everyone is going to want your job, so you might not want to have so much fun with it.
Okay. Bye.
Be sure to go to MyMoon and join up so you'll get announcements about future webcasts.
Thanks, everybody.